Shut up. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna. I hope that you're having an amazing day. So I wanted to do another study with me, because I didn't actually want to study today, but I want to force myself to. So doing this video is making me sit down and actually sit with my materials and put my head to the books. And secondly, because so many of you enjoyed it and I wanted to do a little bit more of a self-study type of video because like I mentioned in my last video, which is linked here somewhere, I am taking an in-person 2-hour class weekly, and I was in beginner 1 during my first video and now I'm in level 2. So in terms of something that maybe you can base that on to kind of get a better gauge of where I am, if I take the Talk to Me in Korean test to see where you are in the levels, I'm about a level 3, but there are some holes in my knowledge, which is why I'm going back to Talk to Me in Korean to kind of reinforce those concepts and grammar points and vocabulary and stuff like that. So I want to do this video to show you guys how I self-study at home and some tips and tricks of maybe how you can apply this to your own self-study and make things maybe stick a little bit better or just kind of refresh how you're doing things. And I am by no means a Korean language teacher. I am still learning. So if this doesn't work for you, that's totally fine. I think that, you know, just trying different things out, because there are plenty of studying tip videos out there, just trying different things out, and one thing may stick or nothing may stick or all of it may stick. And yeah, so I just want to show you guys what I do, so maybe it will help you out if you are studying Korean or just want to learn another language or just like watching studying videos, because that's a thing. I was looking at different video formats and it's like a thing to watch people study. Your thing, that's your thing, but I definitely don't want to have you guys watching an hour-long video of me studying. So jumping into it, let's kind of start with where I start, which is with vocab. So when it comes to vocab, what I personally like to do, and I think if you guys have heard of World of Dave, he does this as well. So you can follow a curriculum. If you're taking a class, you obviously have a curriculum. That may work for you, but for me, that doesn't necessarily work because I hate learning things that I can't necessarily apply. So my problem with a lot of Korean textbooks is that a lot of them are kind of academic life based. So if you're still in college or in high school, a lot of it will apply to you. But because I'm out of like college and stuff, it's not really applicable for me to be talking about like geography class when I don't take that. So I like picking out words in English that I use pretty frequently and trying to find their Korean translation. Now remember, in any language, a direct translation is kind of near impossible, especially the more advanced you go, because there are definitely Korean words that do not ever translate perfectly to English and vice versa. There are English words that aren't like in Korean. So your job is essentially to kind of find words that A, you use frequently, and B, find the closest translation to them. So, for example, sometimes I'll want to, so for a while there, I was kind of going over emotions, like emotions. I'm a very emotional person. I like being able to say how I feel. And so for me, knowing the like words for emotions are really important, or is really important, because like I said, I like to talk about how I feel. So I want to be able to say, I'm embarrassed, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm excited, I'm happy, stuff like that. So what I do, and this is for me, this is just how I work. You know, in like elementary school, when you had vocabulary words, you would kind of write them 10 times each. Yeah, I do that. So basically what I do, let me see if I can get it in focus. Basically what I do is I'll write them 10 times each, and each time I write them, I'm saying them. So for example, if I wanted to say I'm embarrassed, the translation for that is 창피해요. So I would write that, and each time I'm writing it, I'm saying 창피해요. 창피해요. Okay, now I'll write it. Second time. 창피해요. 창피해요. And I go again and again and again. So that's basically how I do vocab. Am I in focus? This is gonna be. So another thing that I will do with the new vocab is try to put them into sentences, or listen to how other people say them, or try my best to get them in normal context, because you may read it a certain way with your own enunciation in certain parts of the word or sentence, but it may not be how it's actually, you know, like pronounced in Korean, because each language has its own like intonation when it comes to speech. So in order to sound as close to native as you possibly can, it's best to listen to Korean, essentially, spoken in everyday contexts. So after vocab, what I'll do is I will then go and listen to Korean in some type of context. So whether it is I watch a short like variety show clip, or I listen to K-pop if I'm in a K-pop mood, I will try my best to hear Korean in any type of like form. So whether it's a K-drama, K-pop, or a variety show. I will say that variety shows or like Korean reality shows are probably a great form of listening for Korean, because you're hearing it in like normal everyday context. Remember that K-dramas and K-pop are poetic in nature. So some things that you're hearing, some words or sentences that you're like listening for may be a little over the top or just a little more poetic than what would be the norm in everyday speech. So I'm trying to think of like an example, but I can't. So there are just there are many instances where you're going to hear things in K-dramas or in K-pop itself that if you were to say it in everyday life, it just would be like a little much or awkward or anything like that. What I'm going to watch today is Blackpink House, and if you watch Hannah Lee's study with me, she also has been watching this to like learn Korean, and I don't really do what she does, which is like watch it over and over again and like write down. I do write down words that I hear and I'm like, ooh, I wonder what that word means, or if I see it on the subtitle and I'm like, I'd really like to know that word, I'll write it down and then like add it to my vocab list. I kind of do that, but I don't watch it over and over again until I understand it completely. A lot of people do that. For me, my attention span doesn't really allow that. Like if I've seen it twice or 3 times, like that's good enough for me. My mind won't let me like focus in on it. So I like listening in for words that I already know and you know, put them this is how my brain works with languages. Like if I hear 4 to 5 words in a sentence that I know, I'm able to kind of understand that sentence. I don't have to know every single word to know what they're talking about. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this, where I'm listening in for words and phrases that I already know, and I'm able to kind of start to understand conversations. And like I said, I will sometimes, if I find a word that I really enjoy, I'll write it down, add it to my vocab list, and I change my vocab list probably every like week and a half or so until like that word is like put into memory. On my own, I'll like talk to myself in Korean so that way I'm like using those vocab words consistently. So so I'm gonna watch Blackpink House and go through some words. Okay, so now that I am done watching Blackpink House and I've written down words that I want to learn or listened in for the vocab words that I already know, what I will do next is move on to like an actual grammar lesson, because my brain is all warmed up from listening to Korean. I've written Korean, so now it's time to actually get into like kind of more formal learning lesson. And so what I'll do is I'll go to Talk to Me in Korean. For me, personally, I enjoy Talk to Me Korean more than How to Study Korean, which is the other website that a lot of people tend to use. So I find How to Study Korean a bit much for me. I like concise and kind of to the concise. I like concise things. And I find that How to Study Korean is really informative, but for me personally, I don't need to know the who, what, when, where, why of it all. I just kind of want to know the point and be able to apply it. So into the curriculum and the Learning Center, and you can it's updated recently. So the Learning Center is where you'll find the lessons that you're working on. If you take the quiz, it'll place you, and then it'll like automatically kind of put that lesson into your Learning Center. Basically, what I did, I need to write things down. I need to apply them myself. I'm a kinesthetic learner. If you know your learning style, it might also help you with studying. So there's like a few different types. There's audio, visual, kinesthetic, interpersonal. I feel like I'm forgetting one. But basically they all help you identify how you best learn. So if you figure that out, then you will be able to self-study at your most optimal method. So I will write down the PDF because it applies, even though it is an audio lesson, they also put in, if you click on the lesson itself, so we're going to level 2, but however, 그런데, so they'll have the audio lesson there, but then underneath they have, but they'll have like the transcript. They'll have the transcript there for you. So I copy it pretty much all down in like my own words. So that way I'm once again making that connection to it. Because if I just write down what they say and I'm not like physically thinking of what it means, I'm just like robotically copying it, it's not gonna come to memory. So if I put it in my own words, then it sticks a little bit better in my mind. So I'll write down the example sentences, and then I'll also pick apart the vocabulary there. So is there any word in practice sentences that I don't know? And as you go up in levels, actually there are like sentences that people who follow Talk to Me in Korean, they send in. So they also have a little bit more of like complex vocabulary because it's not following the curriculum. So it's another great way of learning vocab that for example, there was a word, let me see. So there's a word here that is 과음하다, and that means like to drink too much. So obviously it doesn't have a direct English translation, it's just to drink too much, but like that one word means that in Korean. So I would never have probably until I was in a drinking context, have heard of that word. So I love this part of like the Talk to Me in Korean lesson because you're getting real life vocabulary, stupid email, that you can apply and is used colloquially. So really for me, it's all about like, what can I use in everyday life? So that's why I particularly love Talk to Me in Korean. So I'll write all of that down, and then I will start to put them once again into practice. So I will make my own sentences up. So I'll use the example sentence as a base. So okay, I think I use this one. 어제 학교에 갔어요. 그런데 일요일이 왔어요. Sorry. Bad translation, bad pronunciation, but that's fine. It's part of learning. So basically what that says is yesterday I went to school, but it was Sunday. So I'll kind of use that as a base and come up with my own sentence. So an example would be, let me think. Yesterday I went to our home, let's say. Yesterday I went to our home, but it was Monday. So now I'm trying to use vocab that I already know in a sentence structure that's already kind of made for me, but now putting in my own vocab, and I'll slowly start to alter it until it's like nothing like the practice sentence at all, if that makes any sense. So the sentence was, yesterday I went to our home, but it was Monday. It doesn't really have to make sense, but so 어제 우리 집에 갔어요. 그런데 월요일이었어요. So that's the kind of Korean translation, roughly, I hope. But you can correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, I'll keep changing my sentence until it's completely different from the practice sentence, and I've implemented my own vocabulary, but I use it as kind of an anchor in forming my own sentences. And that's how I'm able to kind of deepen the lesson, because like I said, like Talk to Me in Korean is very kind of basic, not basic, but it's concise. So in order to deepen it, you want to start, you know, implementing your own things into it, so you're able to apply it on your own. It's one thing to, you know it when you read it, but it's a completely another thing to apply it in speech and apply it in the moment. Because that's the whole reason you're learning a language, right? Is to be able to speak to someone, for the most part, I would think. Like, I doubt like any of us are like, I want to learn Korean just to read Korean books. Like, I think logically most of us want to learn another language in order to speak to someone. And understand it, whether it's to watch K-dramas without subtitles or to actually be able to go to Korea and say something to someone and understand and be understood. So I find that that is probably one of the most potent things that I've implemented in my studying regimen is to start extending the practice sentences and creating my own, which I'm sure like many of you probably already do. But it was when I started doing that versus just kind of going through the lesson and like doing like the questions and that's that, but really making my own sentences and checking and using that as an anchor. Because even though I have friends who speak Korean and I can like kind of piggyback off of them, like, hey, is this right? Is this how you pronounce it? Is this how you would translate this? Or is this the grammar correct? Not everyone has that. So what I think is a really great tool is to use practice sentences as an anchor and slowly change them, alter them into your own sentences, but starting with that anchor. I think a lot of people get down on themselves when they make a mistake or they feel like they're not progressing fast enough. And everyone has their own timeline. Everyone's going to learn language a little bit faster or slower than another person, and comparing your journey or how you learn to how someone else is growing or progressing in the same language is not fair to you and is not fair to the progress that you are making. So if you're looking at me or you're looking at anyone else who's learning a language and you're like, but why am I not learning as fast as they are? Or how are they able to get this concept and I'm still struggling with it? Keep in mind that everyone has a different basis. So if another person knows a second language already, their brain's already wired to learn another language versus someone who doesn't have any basis in any language at all other than their native tongue. So that also, there's so many factors that play a role into how quickly you pick up languages, and I don't want anyone out there who's learning any third, second, fourth language to feel like, man, like why am I not getting this? Because everyone is going to progress at a different rate. And yes, it's going to matter how much effort you put in, and time, but at the same time, you know, comparing yourself to anyone else's journey is not fair to you and is not fair to your own progress. So if you are not subscribed and you want to keep in the loop, then definitely press that red subscription button down below. Hit the notification button so you know that when a new video is out. Hit the like button if you like this. Leave a comment down below if you want a video like this or any video. Please, I'm open to all of your suggestions. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!